We have the Madlanga Commission of Inquiry because of the media briefing that was held by KZN Provincial Commissioner Lieutenant General Mchunu. The media briefing was triggered by the directives by Minister of Police who's on special leave. Daily Maverick wrote this article. It reads as follows. An explosive High Court application by suspended Inspector General of Intelligence, IGI, Imtiaz Faisal confirms how central former Police Minister Mchunu's office was to the series of investigations and leaks that led both to the Madlanga Commission and to the unprocedural and likely unconstitutional suspension of the IGI. Faisal is challenging the withdrawal of his security clearance and his subsequent suspension by President Cyril Ramaphosa. The President and the other respondents are still to file their answer. Faisal's evidence strongly suggests that the State Security Agency, SSA, Minister in the Presidency Kambudzon Chivini and Ramaphosa himself relied on a desperately flimsy case in order to sideline the IGI. The crucial question is why? While Faisal reveals that the IGI faced systematic resistance from all three intelligence services, the State Security Agency, SSA, Defense Intelligence and Police Crime Intelligence to the disclosure and oversight mandated by law, his evidence and the sequence of events suggest that his real troubles began when, in early January 2025, Minister Mchunu directed him to investigate a set of allegations against the faction in crime intelligence clustered around CI boss General Dumisani Khumalo. As we'll see, these were precisely the same set of allegations that Mchunu's office referred to IDEC in the same month, including the allegations concerning the appointment of Brigadier Dinio Mokwil, whose investigation by IDAC came under heavy criticism at the Madlanga Commission this past week. In his bombshell letter to President Ramaphosa, Faisal wrote, in January 2025, the Honorable Minister of Police, Mr. Mchunu, designated certain functions to me in accordance with Section 7(7)(c) of the Oversight Act, in terms of which I was requested to investigate certain matters relating to the Crime Intelligence Division of the South African Police Service. These matters related to allegations of irregular procurement of the Veras boutique hotel in Pretoria North, utilizing funds from the Secret Services account, irregular appointment of a brigadier without meeting the minimum requirements of the post of section head, technical support services, and whether or not the component head, intelligence analysis at Crime Intelligence, was in possession of a valid security clearance. Subsequently, we received more complaints from members of the public, including members of Parliament, regarding the procurement irregularities involving other covert buildings purchased by Crime Intelligence. During the course of our investigation, we experienced unprecedented interference, especially in respect of the investigation into the procurement of the Veras Boutique Hotel in Pretoria. The sensitivity around the Veras Hotel is no coincidence and links Faisal's investigation to what appears to have been an extraordinary mobilization against Khumalo in response to the Gauteng Counterintelligence Operations, GCIOPS, initiative, initially formed following the murder of whistleblower Armand Swart. What was not previously known, but now emerges through Faisal's affidavit, is that the allegedly unprocedural purchase of the Pretoria Hotel appears to have been motivated to quickly establish a covert base for GCIOPS and the Gauteng deployees of the PKTT, the largely KwaZulu-Natal-based Provincial Killings Task Team. It was Mchunu's December 31, 2024 order to disband the PKTT that set in motion his collision with KZN Provisional Commissioner General Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi, but also ultimately to the suspension of the Inspector General. November 1, 2024. Adams wrote to Mchunu claiming there was interference with investigations and asked the minister to intervene. Mchunu's Chief of Staff Cedric Nkaband escalated the matter to the Office of the National Commissioner. November 11, 2024. The minister's Chief of Staff Nkaband formally refers Adams' complaint to IDEC under Section 27. The Madlanga Commission has heard how flimsy Adams' evidence was at this stage, yet an inquiry was launched. December 6, 2024, GCIOPS, assisted by the PKTT, conducted two operations: the arrest of Katiso Molefe and the execution of a search and seizure warrant at the property of Vuzamuzi Kat Matlala. During operations, potential interference was noted from members of the Johannesburg Metro Police Department and the Directorate of Priority Crime Investigation, the Hawks. December 31, 2024, Police Minister Mchunu instructs National Police Commissioner Fanya Masemola to disband the PKTT. Crucially, he also ordered a halt to the filling of vacant posts at Crime Intelligence. Strategic leaks. Things moved fast in January 2025.
Now let me quickly bring in the minister. We hear that the minister is, especially Fadil Adams. He said the committee has cleared Minister Mchunu. That's fine. But now, the same Fadil Adams, on the 1st of November 2024 at 8:21 in the morning, 8:21:01 seconds. Yes, we are this detailed. He sends a complaint to the minister about his cases that he opened in Cape Town and Soweto, Orlando. 3 or 4 minutes after, he sends the same complaint to the minister's chief of staff, Seth Nkabinde, which implies that the minister told him or called him, not via email, to say no, speak to Nkabinde. And then Nkabinde sends this complaint to the office of Fani Masemola. Now, that means he got the instruction also from the minister to say, please resolve this. And then sets a deadline to say on the 4th of November 2024 at 3 o'clock, I want the report. To cut the story short, the inspectorate did the investigation and they came up with a report, a quick report, and which was signed by Sibiya on the 5th. Then they sent it to the minister. The minister wanted this on the 4th, but he received it on the 5th. And then the minister signed it on the 8th, but he wanted it on the 4th, but he signed it on the 8th. Now I want you to check the dates. On the 8th, on the 11th of November 2024, 11th, the minister 8th, Cedric Nkabinde sends what he calls a Section 27 referral to IDEC and says, please IDEC investigate this. And the SAPS has not yet closed the cases, but then 3 days after the minister signed. So here's the point. Cedric Nkabinde cannot send such to IDEC without the authorization of the minister, because that letter represents the ministry, it represents the minister. So Cedric Nkabinde, we can infer that he got authorization from the minister. So he wrote that referral on behalf of the minister. So we can say it is the ministry that referred the case to IDEC. It is the minister that referred the case to IDEC. And being him, IPID is under the minister. SAPS is under the minister. But the minister, knowing that there's IPID, and this was a service complaint, he decides to skip IPID, the minister, and then he goes to IDEC for referral of criminal investigation. There is IPID, which was established by Parliament to do such things. But the minister, him being in control of this department, he undermines his own department, IPID. He goes to IDEC so that IDEC could investigate Khumalo. Now, we go back to the time 2025, where this was, is it 2024, after the minister was appointed. And Masemola tells us that in that first meeting of the executive of SAPS, the minister raised this thing to say, why does Khumalo head crime intelligence and the PKTT? Now, that was not the minister's original idea. He was fed either fed by Sibiya or fed by Khan. Remember, Khan is the one who congratulated him that, congratulations, you are the minister. So that could connect the dots. So the minister did not want Khumalo as the divisional head of crime intelligence. Even in the letter that he disbanded PKTT, he says, put a moratorium on the appointment at crime intelligence. So the minister had so much interest in crime intelligence. So he is not out of this. And his interference, we could say, is political, but more than political interference. Are you connecting the dots? Hello.
Let us read some parts of the affidavit. My appeal against the decision to withdraw my security clearance. 38 Section 14(8)(a) of the ISA provides that persons who wish to appeal against their security clearance being refused, withdrawn, or degraded by the DG may appeal to the Minister, second respondent. 40. Section 14(8)(b) provides that the appeal must be lodged within 60 days from the date on which the decision was made known by the DG and must set out the grounds for appeal. Section 14(8)(c) empowers the Minister, as soon as possible, to confirm, set aside, or vary the decision of the DG, or to substitute any other decision for the decision of the DG. 41. On November 10, 2025, I lodged an appeal to Minister Mchunu against the acting DG's decision to withdraw my security clearance. A copy of my appeal is attached, marked FA6. As stated in paragraph 6 of my appeal, I do not abandon my submission in my letter to Minister Mchunu that the acting DG's refusal to provide me with the information that I require is unfair and unlawful, and that an appeal without being provided with proper reasons is futile. 42. I lodged the appeal in order to comply with Section 14(8) of the ISA and to exhaust the internal remedies provided under the ISA. I did so despite my 43. Reservation that an appeal without being given the reasons for the decision to withdraw my security clearance is pointless. Not only because of the acting DG's refusal to provide me with the reasons for his decision, but also because Minister Mchunu has displayed no interest in assisting me to be able to formulate a proper appeal. On November 27, 2025, lodged a copy of my appeal with the acting DG. In terms of Regulation 8(3) of the ISA regulations. 44. Minister Mchunu has failed to respond to my appeal. Letter from the acting DG purporting to give reasons why my security clearance should not be withdrawn. Grounds of review. The acting DG's decision to withdraw my security clearance is unlawful and inconsistent with Section 14(5) of the ISA. Read with Regulation 8 of Chapter 26 of the ISA Regulations and Section 6(2) of PAJA. Section 14 of the ISA, read with Regulation 8 of Chapter 26 of the ISA Regulations, regulates the vetting of SSA members. 53. The relevant provisions of Section 14 of the ISA provide underlining. Added. 14. Vetting and discharge of members. 1. No person may be appointed as a member unless information with respect to that person has been gathered in the prescribed manner in a vetting investigation. B. The Director General, after evaluating the gathered information, is of the reasonable opinion that such a person may be appointed as a member without the possibility of such a person being a security risk or acting in any way prejudicial to the security interests of the Republic. 2. In order to gather the information contemplated in subsection 1(d), the agency may, in a prescribed manner, have access to a. Criminal records, b. Financial records, c. Personal information, and d. Any other information which is relevant to determine the security clearance of the person, provided that where the gathering of information contemplated in paragraphs c and d requires the interception and monitoring of the communication of such a person, the agency must perform this function in accordance with the Regulation of Interception of and Provision of Communication-related Communications. Information Act, 2002, Act 70 of 2002. 4. The Director General may, in the prescribed manner, directives on 84. A polygraph testing, b. the level of security clearance, and c. criteria for evaluating the security competence. 5. The Director General may, after evaluating the information gathered as contemplated in subsection 1, b. issue, degrade, withdraw or refuse to grant a security clearance certificate. 54 Regulation 8 of Chapter 26 of the ISA Regulations provides underlining. Added. 1. If the Director General is reasonably of the opinion that an applicant may not be appointed as a member or continue as a member without the possibility that such an applicant could be a security risk or could possibly act in any manner prejudicial to the security interests of the Republic of South Africa, he or she may withdraw, downgrade, or refuse to grant security clearance. Functions. It is unlawful to withhold access to intelligence and information from the IGI. Safeguards against unlawful withdrawal of the security clearance of the Inspector General. 120 The requirement for the Inspector General to be in possession of a valid security clearance arises from S7-10 of the ISOA, read with S2A of the NSIA. 120.1 Section 7-10A of the ISOA provides that the IGI shall comply with all security requirements applicable to employees of the SSA. 120.2 Section 2A of the NSIA provides for relevant members of the national intelligence structures to conduct a vetting investigation to determine the security competence of a person if that person's job requires access to classified information and intelligence. 121. In the case of the IGI, the authority to conduct vetting investigations and issue a security clearance vests in the SSA and in the Director General because of 121.1 The requirement in S7-10 of the ISOA that the IGI must comply with all security requirements applicable to employees of the SSA. 121.2 The provision in SS14, 1, A and B of the ISA that no person may be appointed as a member of the SSA unless the DG, after evaluating security vetting information, is of the reasonable opinion that such a person may be appointed as a member without the possibility of such person being a security risk or acting in any way prejudicial to the security interests of the Republic. 121.3 Section 14(5) of the ISA, which provides that the DG may, after evaluating information gathered in terms of S14(1), b. issue, degrade, withdraw or refuse to grant a security clearance certificate. 121. A Section 14/1/B of the ISA which reads as follows, no person. 121.4 Section 14(1)B of the ISA, which reads as follows, no person may be appointed as a member unless the DG, after evaluating the gathered information, is of the reasonable opinion that such a person may be appointed as a member without the possibility of such a person being a security risk or acting in any way prejudicial to the security interests of the Republic. 122. The discretion given to the DG under the ISA to grant or refuse a security clearance is a wide discretion. If the DG withdraws or downgrades the security clearance of the IGI, that decision stands until it is reviewed by the DG under S14(5) of the ISA, or set aside on appeal by the Minister in the Presidency under S14(8) of the ISA. 123 under S14(8) of the ISA. A person whose security clearance has been downgraded, withdrawn, or refused by the DG may appeal to the Minister responsible for intelligence. The appeal must be lodged within 60 days from the date on which the DG's decision was made known and must set out the grounds for the appeal. 124. After considering the grounds of appeal and the DG's reasons for the decision, the Minister must confirm, set aside or vary, or substitute any other decision for the decision of the DG. The Minister may establish a panel of appeal to assist her consider such appeal. 125. Although not prescribed in the ISA, if the Minister dismisses an appeal in terms of S14(11) of the ISA, a person is entitled to take that decision on review to this court. 126. I submit that the purpose of requiring the IGI to undergo vetting before he is appointed is twofold. First, it ensures that the IGI appreciates the Risks of unauthorized disclosure of classified intelligence information to national security. Second, it ensures that the IGI is fit and proper, and that he or she cannot be compromised or pressurized to disclose classified information to persons who are not authorized to receive it. 127. However, in its current form, the power given to the DG and the Minister in the Presidency under Sections 14.5 and 14.8 of the ISA undermines the constitutional and statutory requirement that the IGI be independent of all the intelligence services of the Republic so as to ensure the effective civilian monitoring of the activities of all those services. 128. The authority of the DG to withdraw the IGI's security clearance undermines the constitutional and statutory requirement in Section 7.10b of the ISOA that the IGI shall serve impartially and independently and shall perform his functions in good faith and without fear, favor, bias, or prejudice. 129. Subjecting the IGI to the authority of the DG and the Minister in the Presidency reduces the status of the IGI and renders him subject to the authority of the DG and the Minister, while the IGI is required to exercise effective monitoring over the activities of the DG and, in some cases, the conduct of the Minister in the Presidency. 130. Without a security clearance, the IGI is prohibited from accessing documents or premises that require a security clearance. The consequence of a decision to withdraw the security clearance of the IGI has the effect of preventing the IGI from performing his/her functions under the ISOA. 131. The absence of parliamentary oversight or a proper procedure regulating the issuing and withdrawal of the security clearance of the IGI means that the Minister in the Presidency is afforded unilateral powers to uphold the decision of the DG to withdraw the security clearance of the IGI. Consequence of a decision to withdraw the security clearance of the IGI has the effect of preventing the IGI from performing his/her functions under the ISOA. 131. The absence of parliamentary oversight or a proper procedure regulating the issuing and withdrawal of the security clearance of the IGI means that the Minister in the Presidency is afforded unilateral powers to uphold the decision of the DG to withdraw the security clearance of the IGI. 132. I respectfully submit that the IGI should not be subject to the authority and control of any political appointee, including the Minister in the Presidency, if the IGI is to retain the independence that is required by the Constitution. Similarly, I submit that the IGI should not be subject to the authority and control of the DG, if the IGI is to retain the independence that is required by the Constitution. The need for statutory and institutional reform of the OIGI. 133. The independence of the IGI is expressly mandated in Section 7.10b of the Intelligence Services Oversight Act, which provides that the Inspector General shall serve impartially and independently and perform his or her functions in good faith and without fear, favor, bias, or prejudice. 134. The independence of the Inspector General and the status of the position that I occupy is highlighted by the statutory requirement in Section 7.1b